Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And welcome to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the Battle of Hoth. Certainly one of the most iconic battles in all of Star Wars. And one of the most unique. So let's begin. The Battle of Hoth occurs in The Empire Strikes Back. In the first act, similar to how the Battle of Coruscant occurred during the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. Now, of course, in The Empire Strikes Back, it takes place about 20 minutes or so into the movie. But the movie, being very well structured, spends the first few minutes with character development moments. And also Luke learning from the spirit of Obi-Wan to go and seek Yoda. We also see Han and Leia's relationship progress. We also see Han's concern for his friend Luke. You know, we really get a lot of detail on the characters. And, Luke escaping from the Wampa Cave, demonstrating a new force power, as I discussed yesterday. Pulling the lightsaber toward him. So a lot of great moments getting the characters established, the situation established, the developments in the characters' abilities and relationships with each other, and I really like that. And then we get a battle. Now, the Battle of Hoth is unique. It is not a battle to win. It is a battle to allow the rebels to escape. So the battle is more of an attempt to hold off the Empire long enough for the rebels to escape. Now, the Empire had planned to take the rebels by surprise by sending out probes to search the galaxy for the rebels. One such of the probes lands on Hoth and is able to send back images to the Executor, Vader's Star Destroyer, showing a shield generator on Hoth. Lord Vader insists that that is where the rebels are, and also where Luke is. Which, by the way, we learn in the opening crawl of the movie that Darth Vader is obsessed with finding Luke. So that, of course, means that Vader learned the identity of the rebel pilot who destroyed the Death Star, that he learned it sometime in the 3 years between the original movie and The Empire Strikes Back. In universe, 3 years. So regardless, and we learn about this in the canon comics, explaining how he learned that. Vader insists that is where the rebels are, even though Admiral Ozzel suggests, it could be smugglers, it could be something else. He says, there are so many uncharted settlements. And Vader's like, nope, you're wrong, that's where they are. And they are set to take the rebels by surprise. But then it goes wrong because Admiral Oswald has the fleet come out of hyperspace way too close, and the rebels are able to detect the Imperial Starfleet. Of course, this does not end well for Admiral Oswald, but it's good for the rebels. So the rebels prepare to evacuate and fend off the Empire long enough that they can escape. So it's a unique battle because it is a battle that the rebels know they're going to lose already. It's not a battle to win. It's also unique because most of the battles in Star Wars have a space battle component to it. This battle does not. The only space battle, you could argue, is the ion cannon disabling the Star Destroyers that are in the way. But there are no ship-to-ship fighting in space. And then, of course, there's the walkers, perhaps the most iconic symbol of Imperial might. The walkers look pretty cool. They're completely impractical, but they look pretty neat. So that's kind of a general overview of the battle. Luke gets shot down, but he gets away, managing to destroy one of the walkers, which is pretty cool. Great moments during the battle that are very iconic. Sad for some characters. Actually, quite a few characters. It's pretty sad. So it's a unique battle in Star Wars, and visually, the snow makes for a very interesting look. But we'll get to that in a minute. So in terms of where it fits in the story, the battle really proves to be a demonstration, if you will, that the rebels are more concerned with saving lives than taking them. The rebels could have made a desperate, 300 style last stand, like the Spartans at Thermopylae. They could have done that. But I think they realized that Leia and General Reagan realized that it was more important to live to fight another day. Because it would have been a massacre if they had just held their ground. It seems that Vader was also obsessed with capturing Luke, thus his personal involvement in the battle. I don't think he ever says that, but I think it stands to reason that he is already wanting to get a hold of Luke, probably so he can be like, "Hey man, I'm your dad." He was hoping that he could get in that time, or at least get. If Luke gets away, he was probably thinking he could at least capture Han and Leia, and thus get Luke to come to him. That didn't work out, so Vader had to figure out other ways. So that's the general overview of the battle. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk to you about my feelings on the Battle of Hoth. Stay tuned. Hello there, this is Brennan Marr, host of Page Turners They Were Not, a Star Wars podcast. And I'm here to tell you about Anchor. Anchor is the best way to make a podcast. Why is that? Well, first off, it's free. Yes, you heard me right. Anchor is free. Anchor has all the tools you need to make a podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you on various platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can make money from your podcast. And get this, with no minimum listenership. That means you can make money even if no one listens to your podcast. That, of course, is not ideal, as Anchor will allow you to spread your podcast, bring in more viewers, and you can make more money because of it. Everything you need to make a podcast is in one place on Anchor. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you, and may the Force be with you. And we are back. All right, let's talk about it. I really love the Battle of Hoth. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. I think because it's more thought-provoking is really why. But it does everything that a good sequel should. The point of a sequel is to take what was established in the first and go deeper into it. And I think The Empire Strikes Back does that and has become the textbook example of how a sequel should operate. In fact, many people often refer to such sequels as The Empire Strikes Back of this series. So, that being said, I love the Battle of Hoth, and I love the idea that it is a battle that they are not intending to win. That is quite nice. And what I mentioned earlier about the rebels being more concerned with saving life, that just came to me as I was doing this recording. I had never considered that until this moment, or a few moments ago. I really like that. I really like, visually, of course, the battle. I think it's great. With some incredible special effects. There's an idea pioneered of visual effects in Star Wars by Phil Tippett, I believe. And if I'm crediting the wrong person, please forgive me. Phil Tippett was one of the special effects artists at ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. And he came up with what was called Go Motion, which is a version of stop motion. Stop motion is where you take a little figurine and you move it ever so slightly every frame of the camera, and you string it together and you get a moving image. You know, think the old Ray Harryhausen, Clash of the Titans, Jason the Argonauts. That's stop motion. Go motion is the idea of putting a little motor in the figurines So it moves more than one little bit at a time. It can make more movements with each shot so that the image becomes much more fluid and not as jerky as traditional stop motion. I hope that that explanation has made sense. So, because of that, the walkers look less jerky than they might have if they had used traditional stop motion, because the walkers look incredible. And by the way, The Empire Strikes Back received a much deserved Oscar for Best Visual Effects. Visually, the Battle of Hoth is stunning. The Empire Strikes Back cost 3 times more to make than the original film, or rather, they had 3 times higher the budget. Apparently, it wasn't supposed to go that high, but they certainly got a return on their investment. As well as the fact that the movie looks leaps and bounds better than the original movie. And you can see it, particularly in the Battle of Hoth, just how polished everything looks. Now, the battle strategy is very interesting. I think the trench warfare thing is actually kind of interesting. I like the rebels in their snow outfits and the Imperial snowtroopers, or is it just me? Or do the snowtroopers look like KKK members? Maybe they're meant to look scary. Because I don't know about you, those KKK get-up, that scares me. I just always thought that the snowtroopers looked a bit like that. And of course, the rebels escape. I mean, there are many lives are lost. But things get away, people get away. Most of the important people and supplies and get away safely. Now, of course, this leads to a bit of divergence in their paths. Where Luke goes to Dagobah, Han and Leia find themselves pursued very closely by the Empire. And of course, we all know where that leads. And the asteroid chase and many other great and iconic moments. The Battle of Hoth, as well as the other events that take place on that planet, are really pretty amazing to me, and some of my favorite stuff in Star Wars. Not my favorite, but some of, I would say. I would never want to live on Hoth because I hate the cold. So, the Battle of Hoth is a great battle, and certainly more simpler in terms of being like the Battle of Yavin in the original film. It only takes place in one environment. It's then, of course, in Return of the Jedi when probably because of the budget, they were able to fully realize a battle taking place in space, on land, on the Death Star. But the Battle of Hoth being in one particular environment, I find interesting. And also the fact that it is a purely land battle. The snow background makes for some interesting visuals. And the sounds, oh my gosh, the sound effects, my goodness. The sounds of the walkers moving, the sounds of the tow cables and the snow speeders, and just, Star Wars is a cacophony of great sounds. Much love and credit goes to Ben Burtt, the sound designer. That creaking sound as the walkers move, it's pretty amazing. As well as some incredible and iconic music from the maestro himself, John Williams. Not enough praise, in my opinion, goes to the director, Irvin Kershner. Not George Lucas, as some people think. Now, there is a common misconception that George Lucas was barely involved in the making of The Empire Strikes Back. That's not true. Now, George was not on the set very often, but he contributed greatly to the story. Now, George Lucas did not write the screenplay alone. He hired Larry Kasdan. Now, they originally had hired the science fiction author Lee Brackett, who, if I'm not mistaken, wrote the movie Chinatown. Lee wrote a first draft of The Empire Strikes Back. Unfortunately, Lee died soon thereafter, before Empire had even been released. The Empire Strikes Back, I should say. I believe she died not even a year after she finished the screenplay. So, unfortunately, she never lived to see it. Now, the screenplay was a first draft of where they wanted to go with the story, but George Lucas hired screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan, and together he and Kasdan wrote the final draft of the script. So George Lucas was very involved in the story and the screenplay, very involved in post-production and pre-production. So much more involved than we often think. And I know that I once thought that he had little to do with it. Nope, he had a lot to do with it, just not the actual photography. Principal photography and production of the movie. So credit indeed to Irvin Kershner as an incredible director, doing an incredible job directing, and also much credit to Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote such a deep and interesting screenplay. Great direction, great writing, great sound, great music make the Battle of Hoth one of the most iconic battles in film history. So those are my thoughts on the Battle of Hoth. Let me know what you think. My name is Brennan Moore. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And thank you for tuning in to Fates, Journeys They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.